Well, we really have had a tale of two halves, right? Game one, an absolute slaughter from Antic, winning it in, 20 kills to 1. Granzo then came out the gate swinging and said, you know what? There's more left in the tank. And really, the only common denominator, Smolder, what a champion! Quadra kill into pentakill, and the big question we asked, right, is do you just drop the ego and ban away this disgusting champion?
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to if you're ground zero here. It just looked so broken in both games that it was able to be picked up on that blue side there. Kind of stacking unchallenged and then going into this late game just really being a threat. So much mobility, especially if you build a comp that can kind of help it kite back and just unloading so much damage. But for the time being, it's going to be the same bans from ground zero. Senna and Orianna taken off the table. And this last ban really is the deliberation. They've picked up Nautilus and Tahm Kench in these spots in previous drafts. And you can see, I think the team is discussing as to whether they want to let this through. It was such a big factor in deciding those previous games. And really will be interesting to see what their verdict is. But they are going to take it off the table. So, like I mentioned, in their previous game on red side, the Nautilus was let through in response. But it does mean a Varus is going to come out here for King in the first pick.
Yeah, it's been banned away in the first 3 by Antic in the first 2 games, but allowing that Varus to go on through certainly means that there are a whole host of other champions up for grabs. This Twisted Fate, certainly another champion that rings to mind. We've seen Lemus have a pop-off performance on that one, but not to put Tien and Kisei to the side, who have also shown a keen interest to pick it up as well. They've denied away that cover to dash from Benvi to make sure there's no shenanigans with a cross-map arrow. And Grand Zero's instant response is, we're not going to go for the TF, we want to instead lock the Xayah.
You'd assume it would be the Rakan pairing here to have that really aggressive duo. I think that Xayah by herself into Varus doesn't have the easiest matchup purely just because of the range disparity. I think that if it's a lethality Varus, you can very easily get poked out of lane without having too much agency in terms of being able to fight back. And one of the ways you can counteract that is by pairing it with a Rakan who really does want to join you in that fighting down towards the bot lane. But Dragku on his Nautilus here, really kind of all the comfort picks being brought out here for Antic, an insta-lock of that Nautilus and that Azir. So not only do you have the engage potential coming out towards the bot side, you also have Ryoma, who, like you said, did fall down on Azir last game, still looked pretty good in that game, and we know can absolutely perform under pressure on this champion.
And we had an interesting conversation right during the break as to why they've had this major preference towards banning away the Orianna and allowing the Azir to go through, because we wouldn't expect Swiper to go for the Nocturne Ori combo that we've seen every team look to try and pick up to great success, but they just value the champion too much in its on its own, really, I suppose. And we'll say you can have that Azir instead. Cassante, Vi, both denied away, making sure that those champions also do not get to see the light of day. But that Talia also was such a fantastic champion that really, how does Swiper look to try and answer this?
And we were kind of discussing that concept off air, right? The idea that Swiper, he really loves playing these dash-heavy engaged champions, so you can almost slam a Talia and kind of dare him into picking something like that. We saw it work so well for them last game in terms of how easily Schönfire was able to snowball the rest of the map. Now, keep in mind, he does have the Rakan as his support pairing this game, so it's not going to be as easily available lockdown as the Nautilus would provide. But certainly we'll be looking to roam the map nonetheless and get his laners ahead where he needs to. And pairing it back up with this Tristana, it really provides priority. That is the big thing that you are looking at getting out of this mid-jungle duo. It's the ability to move first to objectives. Yes, there's not much CC, but you don't really need that if you're able to create these misnumbered fights and just use all that damage to pick up kills.
That was definitely a key takeaway from that second game, right? Was the link up between mid and jungle. They were just everywhere at once, ever so present. And actually, out comes the Poppy from the Antic side, looking to try and deny away from Grand Zero. We know that Swipers looked to pick this one up in the past as well. Definitely another champion that falls victim to the minefield that Atalia can present. Whether or not Zoranis would look to maintain that as a top lane is still up for debate, and I suppose we'll get an answer very shortly. But it is a risky proposition as a Gragas is actually going to be looked at.
There's a lot of disengage coming out from Antic, right? Their whole top side is basically built around the concept of wanting to disengage, whereas Ground Zero, they don't feel too pressured by having a full committal here, right? The Rakan's the only champion who necessarily needs to be dashing in to find value. Talia, Tristana, and Zaya all really happy to continue hitting from a range. Now, what does Tien go with his 5th pick here? We've seen Udia kind of be the default here, and it's going to be the same here in Game 3. So into the Gragas, just providing this very stable frontline option to really create space and allow his team to get to work.
Is there a concern though, Max, that this Udia once again falls victim to the lack of engage? Because they denied away the Ashe, is all on then the likes of Benvi to find that phenomenal flanking quickness charm knockup?
Look, I think definitely it is. If it's a case where the game's in an even goal state where, you know, perhaps there's no Dragon Soul Point coming online, then you really do start to worry, okay, how does this Ground Zero team actually pull the trigger? I think the game plan heading in, though, is the laning advantages that they're going to be able to create will kind of necessitate Antic running into them, and that will be the way that they're able to start these fights, right? You have a pushing top lane. Mid lane we saw last game was pushing in favor of Kisei, if not slightly even, and the bot lane can certainly jostle for Prio as well with that Lovers duo. So Shenfire really is going to be open on the map. It's going to be kind of on him again to get the game rolling, really be that playmaker in the early game to start things off and get the picks for Ground Zero. Now, we saw what happened when they got ahead. We saw the lead they were able to create. Hopefully looking to replicate a similar thing here in what could be the deciding match of our series.
And to that point, I'm actually very curious to see what level 1 shenanigans may look to take place here, right? With the pressure at a big high right now, really at a climax as to, okay, one wrong move and that series completely comes undone. We drop to the lower bracket and have to run the gauntlet all the way back for a second shot at making it into that PCS playoff qualifier. There is no chance to make a mistake right now. They go for the Zaya Rakan, the Lovers duo, looking to try and shut down the Varus, which we'll wait to see what variation of the champion we do in fact get. But scaling champions out of the question, no chance for a Senna or a Smolder, as Game 3 is the decider here between our 2nd and 3rd seed.
And you can see here already some level 1 shenanigans being detected here. Ground Zero have been spotted, and so will Antic actually. Now Benvi is very far behind the rest of his team here if he does get caught out, but here's the flash hook.
Yeah, body slam into flash hook, into Tien, falling victim to her first blood. And it really is deja vu with those level 1 plays, this time favoring Antic, but we might not be done just yet though, because patience by Benvi, waiting for his moment to strike as Antic look to retreat out of that one. They're unable to find much more than a flash out of the Azir.
Flash out of the Azir, but the crucial thing is the kill that goes the way of King here. For such a volatile bot lane, him to be able to get that kill early on is really worrying. And you can see in the fan predictions a massive backflip over the previous game. 71% now favoring Ground Zero. I'm sure after that first blood, they're not feeling as confident about that. But this red buff start here will be spotted out. It is on vision here for the side of Ground Zero. So they know where Swipe is starting. They know roughly where he should be pathing to. And once again, that should continue to unlock Swipe. Shenfire here, rather, to get active on this map early. Now, King as well, unable to base with that first blood gold. Obviously, he would have loved to pick up like an extra longsword or something to give himself a little bit more extra combat power, but ultimately, he won't have a chance to do that. So it will just be the lane as usual, although the flash is missing from Draku.
It certainly is. That was used successfully to guarantee that first blood going their way, but Hex Flash obviously being so phenomenal for these supports to utilize here. Means he's not going to feel too hard done by that one once the lane does take place. My question, though, is this sort of tendency for Antic to draft disengage, right? They've gone for this Poppy and Gragas. Is there any concerns into a double AD carry that it is going to get kited out?
You do wonder about that. I think the way that Antic do play these champions is every disengaged champion is also an engaged champion in their eyes. I think they're very happy to do something like a Azir shuffle forwards, a Poppy flash forwards, even a Gragas, you know, body slam flash. As now the top lane here, you can see here, this is really what I was talking about in the draft with priority being an issue for Antic. You can see Shenfire has an incredibly strong pushing top lane and mid right now, despite Tien falling down earlier. So he will just be able to walk in right here and take away the blue buff. Might even wrap around here to potentially look at Swiper, who is on vision here right now.
Yeah, he's actually going to entertain that 1v1 seismic shove, but doesn't connect on this occasion. Otherwise, no doubt, Sean will be hunting for more. But as you rightly mentioned, has an absolute field day to prance around and really do as he likes. But now Kisei stuck between two towers and is simply going to take a ton of damage from the towers as well. Both of them limping away. The top lane is unable to leave their lane. And would you believe it, both Shern and Kisei get out unscathed.
I cannot believe they just escaped that. That was absolutely some ludicrous gameplay between two turrets there. You could see the initial play was nice. He was trying to force Ryoma away from his turret on the wave there because Kisei was able to find some successful trades earlier on in the lane. But ultimately, they don't respect Swiper being in the area, being able to drag Shernfire back, and with that turret in this early game does so much damage. But Talia does have to expend the flash in order to get out there. Now, no kill will be going over, so not the worst outcome, and Shernfire will still be able to get back towards his own bot side to farm that up and secure himself a CS lead. So already things going according to plan here for Shernfire, who really wants to get online early and start snowballing on this Talia. But Benvi!
Oh, really nicely done there by Ryoma, dodging out on that flash grand entrance. Now really, across the board, so many of those summoners being burnt. Everybody very susceptible to a gank. But that is what we've come to know of Benvi, right? Always hunting for an opportunity.
Yeah, so is Dracu here. Hook lands onto Lemus.
Yeah, instant cleanse out of that one as the Ignite comes on through as well, so it's a lot of damage that is going to stick. And is he going to tick on down? No, that shield is just enough. Otherwise, he would have certainly burnt on down. But good heads-up play there from Antic to punish that roam from Benvi.
Yeah, it is. Dracu really willing to pull the trigger there, forcing the cleanse out from Lemus. Now, the Lover's Recall will mean they're able to actually get back in a decent spot. The wave won't lose too much CS here. But Lemus holding on to that flash as well. You could see, I did wonder for a second whether he was just going to use that preemptively to avoid the damage that was going to come from that Dracu hook. But instead opts to save that spell. And ultimately, a plate going over to King. 1 kill up here on this Varus. He is feeling good, and one thing we did mention is the fact that it is the on-hit Varus coming through, so not the lethality, not the same lane dominance that you would come to expect from a serrated Dirk Rush, more opting for that late game power, that ability to rip through some of the tanky members like Tien if he's able to DPS. As Dracu will show his head mid lane, it really seems like Grubs is the focus, with Tien having permanent priority in the top lane and just TP'd back here. It looks like Shernfire will be the first one to look at these.
Yeah, once again preying upon the ability for them to utilize that priority to guarantee everything they could so desire. And it does feel like to me that in a way both teams basically have a double AD carry setup, right? With the on-hit lethal tempo for the Varus, with the Azir definitely going to put out a fair amount of damage in that regard as well from afar. So if this game does go the distance, if we do get to 3 items and beyond, it will be a case of how tanky these tanks are, how creative they can get with their pathing to try and find those engages, deny that backline access, and to, yeah, weather the storm, if you will. But it's going to be a world away before we reach that point in time. Shern able to get all 3, quite happy, and I think really is now starting to demonstrate his jungle prowess, especially on this pick.
Yeah, his pathing's been really nice this game, really leveraging the pushing of his solo laners to be able to find these nice little windows to either steal a camp or to take those neutral objectives. You can see now 51 CS in his back pocket. We'll be basing here. And you'd imagine heading towards this bot lane. The dragon has spawned, but hasn't been looked at by either team so far. But with this Lost Chapter online, all the damage this Talia provides, plus the setup from his bot lane, you'd have to imagine he's looking to link up here with Benvi and Lemus. But at the same time, Dracu, Flash has come back online. There's no Flash to match from the Rakan. And we know how willing Dracu is to flash for a hook. That's basically been the source of the only kill in this game here. But mid lane priority, Kisei favored here, able to get push up and use that ward to maintain vision of Swiper's jungle, spotting out any potential play before it happens. And this should buy enough room for Shernfire if he wants to look at this dragon. It looks like for the time being, he's just going to be content with farming.
He certainly is going to be quite content with that one. And as you say, there's a very small window in which Dracu and the rest of the team can look to try and capitalize on that flash mismatch. Obviously, the same could be said for Ryoma, who also bared the brunt of that initial level 1 play. His flash is up and available too, if he so chooses to desire to get aggressive into Kisei, which is exactly what's happened as we pan across back to that lane. Empress Divide into the tower. And luckily, Rocket Jump in the arsenal makes it ever so easy to not feel pressured or hard done by the like of that summoner choice. But everywhere warded and makes it so difficult for Antic in particular to try and match the pressure that Benvi's been providing, or even to that same extent Shernfire, if he veers from bot all the way through to mid.
And even Tien's going to be walking down here, just completely sacking the top lane after he was able to shove that one out. And all these bodies on the dragon means it just will go over to ground zero here. So Well, very reminiscent of game 1 is this game here. You can see only 1 kill on the board. Dragon, really the only thing separating these two teams here. Because it's a cannon wave, Tien rather will be able to get back in time. Zoranus will be taking a plate because of this demolish that he has picked up for himself, but really, that's the most you can hope to get here as this Gragas into Udyr matchup. Can he get 2? Yes, he can, and that's basically all the dopamine he's going to be getting for the next 25 minutes.
He's living his best life now, isn't he? He gets 2 plates, his job well done. I got my own little opportunity to try and proxy wave. Yes, Tien wasn't there, but we don't really care. I'll take any kind of advantage and any kind of small win that I can get at this point in time. And look, he is going to be looking to get as tanky as he possibly can. But it does feel very much like we're returning to game 1 states, where it's a case of just farming up passively, biding our time, waiting for those major items to be completed before we even potentially look at another fight, as the explosive cast knocks Tien underneath the tower. And if Zoranus had a little bit more mana, maybe he would hunt that kill.
Yeah, there's no mana, no cookies to come through. Hasn't spec'd into that inspiration tree, which means that Tien just going to be able to pop the W and heal up quite nicely here. Swiper's in the area to prevent any potential dive from coming through, but it's not going to dissuade Schönfire from looking up, getting aggressive. And all throughout this early game, the vision control has been something to really commend from Ground Zero. Yeah. Before any play happens, any objective, they always are the first ones in the area, setting up those deep wards to spot any potential counterplay. And right now, it's going to result in a firm topside control here, as the second spawn of these grubbies is just about to come up.
Yeah, their vision control has been sublime. At every given moment, they've known exactly where Antic are, ready to respond and ready to punish. As a result of that one, Swiper's had his life really cut out for him. Been very hard for him to try and find first an avenue to gank or attack, but also to even look at these objectives as well. Second spawning then of these Void Grubs, as 4 are then taken by the side of Ground Zero as the smite comes out, and Schönfire says that's as much as I'll go for on this occasion. And Antic will just have to settle for the 2.
Yeah, I mean, but Skimmy, this is huge. They brought up all 5 members here, which will enable the push on the bot side to come through from Lemus. Just the 1 plate for now, but it forces the teleport out of Ryoma and also enables priority through this mid lane here for Ground Zero. So yes, you lose 2, but ultimately 2 Void Grubs, you're not going to be crying over those. Ryoma, though, he is caught out here. Going to find Lemus.
Looking for the kill, hunting for it, looking to try and punish, and they layer it on down, but Ryoma, he can scoop them back. It does not matter. Mismatched the numbers again and punished once more.
That was a really nice mechanical play there from Benvi. He took advantage of the extra E range he gets on towards Lemus, popping the quickness and then basically dashing to his teammate, which in effect dashes into Ryoma as well, charming him and then getting the knock up on the end of that. So Ryoma, he TP'd down towards this bot lane. He'll successfully defend a play going over on that previous push, but he will fall down himself here. And now it's a 30 CS lead here in the mid lane for this Kisei, who this whole series has been willing to take the gamble on Ryoma's Azir. And Skimmy, I misspoke before. I thought all the Void Grubs had gone over, but there's actually still 1 remaining here. That's going to be 5 for the side of Ground Zero.
Oh no, Max, it really does go from bad to worse. You're thinking they're at least guaranteeing 2, denying them of those potential Void Mites, and still salvaging something with the TP down to bot lane, catching all these waves. But right now, Ground Zero really are running right. They are doing as they please, getting gold in all the right places, and might be feeling a little bit concerned right now if I'm Antic.
Yeah, gold in objectives, right, favoring them. It's only a 1,000 gold lead, but based on the pressure that's present on the map, really resoundingly in the favor of Ground Zero here. As you can see, Antic, they'll take this window to find a little bit of vision here. Draku's a very tanky Nautilus at this stage. The question is, when this dragon is spawning, how are these 2 teams going to respond? You have to imagine the Ground Zero at this stage very comfortable taking fights with how accelerated their mid jungle is in particular. Ryoma will base here, complete his Nash's Tooth. You have to imagine, there it is. But now comes the setup. We've seen this series has basically been defined by who is able to find the successful dragon fights. With the second one spawning in 30 seconds, you have to imagine we've got some action on the cards.
I would imagine so. If this series has been anything to go by, everybody has decided to come across inside that dragon pit and said, this is the fight we'll die upon. Let's see if that same fate is shared one more time. 10 seconds and it's up and available once again. Still, Ground Zero having the overwhelming amount of vision control as the sweeper comes out just to guarantee it if it wasn't already apparent. And yes, whilst it's not the most big advantage of that gold lead, it just feels like Ground Zero have a little bit more than just that. Great flash out of the seismic shoves. The Emperor's Divide is almost premeditated by Ryoba, anticipating where he felt Schönfire would go.
Really big from Schönfire there. Not only do you force out the Azir Flash, but you force out the Emperor's Divide, which is such a big teamfight tool. Yes, the Weaver's Wall is nice, but certainly nowhere near as effective in terms of combat power as that Azir ultimate. So a nice little mid lane play and a nice little bot lane push is going to secure Ground Zero their second dragon here. So sticking to the formula of this pushing lane into pushing objectives and really scaling this game out of control before Antic can actually have a chance to come online. We'll see Kisei responding here by taking his jungler's top lane camps. This denies any potential top lane trade. And after that, it is back to business as usual. Herald is up. You can see the spam pings coming out from TN here onto this objective. And with both AD carries confined to bot lane, it would just be a straight 4v4 if they wanted to head towards this objective.
You can see then, really has felt like Ground Zero have run the map when it's come to taking these Heralds across the series. It'd be interesting actually to tally it up once the series does conclude, because it certainly has felt very much theirs to start with and theirs to always own. And once again, it always just comes back to that argument. We circle back to it time and time again, priority and control, and it feels like after game one it just said, as long as we have control, Schön can really bully and Schön can really exert his expertise in this role. You mentioned it before, I think in game two, is up by 80 CS in the Talia Rel matchup. We're already halfway towards that again, as he's close to 40 this time around. He can also try and keep pace with his solo laners.
Yeah, just walking top lane there to catch an extra few waves. With 5 members in the area though, Antic, they will be able to crack this Herald. The trade on the bot side though will be this bot lane turret. So time and time again, it feels like the age-old question of, okay, if I'm getting a Rift Herald, but I'm trading it for a turret, am I really winning? Because it's the first turret to fall in the game. That extra gold as well, going over to Kisei, who's already incredibly accelerated on this Tristana. And you have to imagine that he is feeling pretty good about the spot he is in right now. They will translate all this movement into bot lane control, bot lane vision as well. As Hook lands, there we go, Death Charge as well. Gonna force the flash out from Benby.
Yeah, definitely forced out the flash, and he was planted quite nicely on that blast cone in case he needed to use that as a second way to get himself out of harm's way, as we say that, and it's Twyvin goes for the flash headbutt into the wall. It says we have to answer back, we have to get a kill, or Ground Zero are just doing all they like, and we're always playing second fiddle, having to respond last.
The turnaround is there though from Antic. Swiper decisively pulls the trigger and gets a kill onto King. Now 2 kills, every single one for Antic in the hands of this AD carry. There's TN, a little bit of trading towards this top side, but both of these champions are so tanky. It takes a monumental effort to get through either of their health bars. But once again, you know, Antic, like game 2, yes, Ground Zero have a lead, but they're very good at punishing out-of-position members. Often, you know, they start with one. They start with Benby there, taking out his flash by using the depth charge, and then on another overextension from Schönfire, they're able to capitalize. So, you know, we talk about getting gold where you want it. Getting gold onto King on this on-hit Varus is certainly what you want to be seeing, especially with how tanky TN's getting on this Udyr.
Which is interesting, right? I'm glad you mentioned TN, because there has been a very common trend that both these top laners have a different idea of how they want to try and play this Udyr, be it the Iceborne Gauntlet for Zoranus or the Liandry's here for TN. As that comes to cast once again to try and zone out Benvi, but he still has more tools ready to use as he can jump out to safety again. Very hard to lock these champions down. And they'll have to settle for nothing on this occasion. Everybody up here, bar Iona, as they want to completely flip the map state and say, well, we didn't get the tower bot lane, but we want to guarantee this one here top.
Yeah, with 3 members in the area, it looks like they will just be able to brute force Kisei off this turret here. In the meanwhile, Ground Zero looking towards this bot side jungle here, denying the red buff, and they've actually got the Herald as well, do Antic. So this summon could potentially be another turret here, which would be quite a big gold swing. There is a TP available for TN if he wants to use it, but not very many wards behind them. He's going to do it to the turret. And it will just survive in time here. But look at Ground Zero, look at Schönfire. He's running up and does have the Weaver's Wall here. decides against it, instead doubling back towards mid lane. I think Benby just kind of bluffing here, keeping them interested as his teammates pin to the mid lane.
Yeah, looking to try and take out Ryoma, who doesn't have flash at about 5 seconds to wait, but thankfully, can Shroomer shuffle to safety. That's twice now. He's been the recipient of some pressure of this Talia and been forced to try and predict what that outcome might be. No need to burn the Impulse Divide this time. Just needs to run away from that decisive shove and get the hell out of the way. What's interesting for me is the mirrored matchup of items, right, between the likes of Kisei and Limas. It looks so aesthetically pleasing on that scoreboard to see the mirrored matchup in that regard, but if they get any opportunity to look at a Baron up in a minute, I mean, they're just going to melt like butter. Especially
with the Talia as well, right? Even the Udi not too bad as there's a fight mid lane.
Yeah, out goes the Feathercore. Always looks to be that Limas is in trouble right now. Both actually limping away. As Zoranis is also very tanky, but unable to weather that much pressure. And a bit of a warning shot here as the Dragon is up. But the Baron now in 40 seconds. And if they do dilly-dally around this one, there could be an interesting trade-off.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that one started again, because the chunks actually mean that Ground Zero are forced away from this Dragon, not able to put themselves on Soul Point as they would have really liked. Instead, they'll have to trade for this top lane turret. So Kisei once again getting active, being the member who's willing to just sit in those side lanes, push those waves in. As here we go again, so it's a TP on the mid lane here from Zoranis. The flick straight away out of that TP. He's throwing the Gragasol, chunking Limas out. So this Xayah can't even walk up. And I mean, yes, your Gragas is chunked out, but look how much health Tien loses. Look how much health Limas loses. And without that ultimate, he does not want to walk back in. So Antic doing a nice job of slowing down the steamroll here from Ground Zero. They take that Mountain Dragon and buy themselves at least 5 more minutes before that soul becomes a real possibility.
Yeah, that they certainly do. And the big benefactor will be King, who's the first actually to reach 2 items complete now. As he's got the Rage Blade alongside that Blade of the Rune King, is going to be an absolute tank shredder. If anybody does present themselves an opportunity, and once you get that kill, right, the passive comes into effect even more. Attack speed gets injected to really allow you to run away with that team fight. Makes sense though for Ground Zero to peel away from that fight for that Dragon and utilize all 5 stacks of Void Grubs, find yet another tower, making it 3-1 now. And Kisei, the one at the helm of all that, has the most gold in the game, is the only one rather that has 9,000 gold. And there's a bit of a drop-off afterwards.
And it's so interesting to see Ryoma so far down on a gold graph, right? It feels like ages since we've seen this year be anything but top 3. This game ultimately hasn't been able to find the start that he usually does, right? He's just fallen down once. In what has been so far a very quiet game here, 21 minutes and only 3 kills total. Really, both teams showing so much discipline, so much restraint, and really confining their fighting to these objectives when they absolutely have to. I mean, speaking of fighting, this mid lane really does become the hot point of contention here. With Baron on the cards, and like you said, being able to be melted from either side here, vision becomes so important. Using those control wards to deny any potential flank, any potential knowledge to the enemy team can be so important. That's exactly what Ground Zero are going to look to do here as Ryoma on the bot side can crack this bot lane turret. You can feel the tension, Skimmy. It's absolutely palpable here as we hit the 22-minute mark.
22 minutes and only 3 kills. Both teams knowing that one rogue mistake, one mismaneuver, one potential phase check, and it could spell disaster here. Both teams have certainly found themselves in dire situations before. And don't want to leave that one to chance. I say that Limas really confident in his ability to dodge out that dredge line. Out goes the cask, looking to try and go bomber mode here for Zoranis, as in comes the TP from Tien, surrounded by the entirety of Antic, and that's not the play! Especially not when Baron's on the cards. You've got double Leandries, double Kraken Slayer, you have all the damage, but no patience.
Yes, Dracu here gets flicked back here, but they're not able to find the damage. He goes Swiper.
They're in for another one. Schönfire leaping across the water safety. Thankfully survives for the meantime as Antic a little bit more angsty now, saying this is really ours to take. We're down 2k gold, a lot of that being in the mid lane in particular. And this bait for the Baron. Oh, it proves to be a deadly one.
Big thing is, though, the Baron won't be able to be started there. So, yes, Tien TP's into the middle of 5 and does fall down. But ultimately, it isn't really too consequential. As we take a look at this play once again, you can see the wards from Antic actually giving them full vision of this play. A nice cast from Zornis to instantly force out the ult. And the second that comes out, Lemus really doesn't want to walk up, right? That Varus, he knows, will be able to just machine gun him down. And so TN's life will ultimately be the price that is paid. But it's not a steep one. You know, you don't lose the Baron, you don't lose your mid lane turret. Ultimately, the game is still very much in a similar position to how you left it. With 1 minute until this mountain dragon spawns, you do imagine that the game for vision, the game for these little picks will just intensify. As Benvi, he is on vision here, has potentially baited Draco in a little bit. But Zoran is looking at Schönfire.
He is looking at Schönfire, they're all in for this one. He burnt the flash before. He's locked in place right now. A hook into a kill, and King has said goodbye jungler, down for 40. My question was going to be, where does that vision get placed? Given that that Dragon Soul point is up for grabs in Ground Zero in 30 seconds, but it's just a single pick like that. And Baron's on the menu.
They're going to TP in here, Skimmy, but there is no smite. Not really any potential for a steal, but they're going to look for the fight regardless.
They're going to try and do this one. This would be absolutely crazy if they're able to steal it away, but it's not to be the case. The Empress Fire goes out as Ramus separates the fight apart. The ripping back of the feathers is enough to root them for the meantime, but not enough to run away as they take down 4 and run from one side of the map to the other.
If you could tell the tale of Antic versus Ground Zero, it is a random fight being completely won by Antic and going on to win the game. There, it's a pick onto Schönfire, who has no flash. A really nice capitalization by Zoranis. He knows that this Talia is without sums, no Zhonya's either, so that initial knockback is enough to pick up the kill. And then off the back end, Ground Zero, they had the avenue to just continue pushing bot lane, give the Baron over. Instead, they opt to fight it, and ultimately it goes horribly against them. It's the Baron, the Mountain Dragon, as well as 4 kills going in favor of Antic.
And the bait looks so good to start things off with, right? It's initially Benvi taunting Nautilus, or rather Dragu to land that hook, the preemptive seismic shove to try and guarantee that he would get punished. And you thinking there's nothing more to come of it, but Zoranis spots an angle, goes in and says, no, we'll chuck up the cask, we'll get the kill.
And the Keeper's verdict is so big, right? Because without any front line to stand behind, what do Kisei and Lemus actually do? You can see Nautilus using the dredge line on towards Lemus there, forcing the ult out nice and early. And then from that time, there's just no one to buy space. You're running into this Azir and Varus, who right now are definitely in a very strong position with the items that they have online. Terminus now completed for King. So not only is he able to shred a little bit more of that armor, he's able to find a fair bit of damage too. As let's look at this fight here in the topside jungle. Draco might be caught.
Draco certainly may be caught, but the Keeper's verdict goes out, knocking back Tien, making sure there is no overlap in that AoE. And those Phoenix Flames are going to look to lock them down. They return to that top lane play, having summoned their Herald many minutes prior. The hook doesn't land! Draco's stuck! He'll fall on down, the trade being this top tier 2. The Sun Disc is summoned, and Ryomet stands his ground. There's a fight taking place in mid between a bruiser and a mid laner. And I think Kisei is just trying to pad his overall damage here as we look to go back to top. And it will just fizzle out. And my God, you were expecting so much more than that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward situation there. Both teams did an impasse. Antic obviously not wanting to go forward as Benvi. What, the TP though, Ryoma?
This is getting very hasty right now, Ryoma. I'm not sure about this when he goes in for the seismic. The cast right afterwards. It's getting dicey now, Max. You can see everybody hunting for a moment, burning flashes, hitting ultimates, committing TPs, and just hoping that the nerves are too much for their opponents.
I think Schönfire mistimed the seismic shove there, Skimmy. You could see Ryoma lived on just a sliver of HP, but ultimately will be able to get out nonetheless there. Really back and forth altercation there on the mid lane. Kisei able to just DPS down this Gragas, who really doesn't have the damage to answer back. And on the top side, it really was that Sun Disc that bought so much space for Ryoma and the rest of Antic to continue on with their push. Ground Zero, despite having the numbers advantage, weren't able to actually continue pushing the agenda as the cast comes out once again.
Ult for ult, it's that classic trade-off. A big reason you had to imagine why the Xayah was locked in with such high priority. It is paid off big time so far. Yes, you might not have the range to try and contest some of the champions of Antic, but it has bailed him out of so many poor situations. And there's a bit of a calm now. I say that because it's 2 minutes until another objective, but now we are just fighting for the sake of fighting. The focus right now is Zoranis. Swiper goes in with the headbutt onto Benvi, knocking him into the wall, standing on up. Two members locked in place with that depth charge, making it so easy for Dracu to flourish and his team to get kill confirmation. Yet another hook as Schönfire is the focus. He flicks back Swiper, but that's not the target they want. And you can just feel that Grand Zero know that this game is slipping away. They had a near 5,000 gold lead, but it's flipped on its head now.
It's absolutely flipped right on its head there. You can see all the attention that's being given to Zoranus. Even now, they're looking at him again.
Another ultimate burn as Benvi goes for the quickness. Unable to find that charm. No flash, no grand entrance in. And it's become very annoying for either side then to try and find their moments. Really has been a case of timing those summoners very well.
Yeah, so let's take a look at this initial play again here. You can see the idea is to get the pick onto Zoranus, but this is an incredibly tanky Gragas, especially with the Keeper's Verdict knocking Schönfire out of this play. A fantastic dredge line onto Kisei, and with this re-engage onto the mid laner of Ground Zero, they're able to completely swing the fight. That Tristana is so much of your DPS budget, especially since Limus has left the fight because of him having to use ult earlier. And that means that Antic, they'll win the straight front-to-back, and now even a future front-to-back like that becomes an incredibly scary prospect. You can see the items coming through here. 5-0 and 3 for King. 2-1 and 2 here on Ryoma with this Rabadon's death cap completed now as well. So with 20 seconds on this Mountain Soul, what do Ground Zero choose to do? There's about a 20-second desync between the Dragon and the Baron. So they wouldn't be able to trade it straight away. And with the complete lack of vision that they have in the area, it looks like they'll just have to give this one up.
You're wondering for a second whether or not they're going to collapse upon him. It's a tanky Gragas. He has a flash and a body slam to gain distance and get at the safety. They'll rip through this Dragon in little to no time and then bolt right over to the top half of the map. 3 back-to-back Mountain Dragons. Fantastic flash. Otherwise that would have been a 4v5. I'm getting angsty myself now. You can just feel that either side do not want to give up an inch.
Oh, it's a pixel-perfect flash there from Zoranus getting out of harm's way. Dracu, though.
Good wards. Oh, every blade of grass right now. You just don't know what is lurking in shadows, waiting to be found here. Blue Trinkets, their stocks are certainly rising. As the cleanse goes out, good trade of corruptions. Limus, and he's down to Summoner now.
But they've got the inside track on mid lane here, Skimmy there. We'll be able to get a couple orders into the turret, nothing more. And you can see just how tense it is over this mid lane. One single misstep, a Nautilus hook landing could be the difference maker. Crucially though, Zoranus is still bot lane. He obviously does have the TP to be able to join if a play does break out. But still, there will be a 4v5 temporary numbers advantage for Ground Zero. They're just going to start up this Baron here. Kisei jumping in as well. Tristana and Talia do this incredibly quickly, but there's a bit of a misposition here. How did Limus and Benvi actually get into the pit? They realize that they can't. They're going to be forced off the objective. But that opens a window right back up for Limus. Actually, he's caught on the mid-wave.
Oh no, don't say it so. Don't say he's going to fall victim to a tanking Gragas as he's forced to burn the ult and he runs away. The Weaver's Wall cuts off the angle as the depth charge goes out. And Ground Zero have had to commit a lot just to stay alive. They were the ones to start off the Baron. They may now have to concede it.
I mean, they can absolutely start it here. Can Antic, right? They've forced Limus back to base. He's not going to be here for a while. And the rest of their members are simply chasing on towards
Can you do it, Sean?
Zoranus here.
Can you do it, Sean?
Oh my God.
He's stolen the Baron! There's no way! There is no way, Max! And
That's
they
so
rub
big.
salt in the wounds and they pick apart Zoranus too. And if you need a clutch moment, just lock on a smile on his face.
I mean, how do you even steal that? He didn't have the smite. He wasn't in range. It's just plain and simple. A missed time there from Swiper. You can see the frustration on his face there. That one really hurts because, like you said, Zoranus is going down in the meantime. He's buying time for the team to do the Baron. But it is all Ground Zero. And what was once so in the favor of Antic is equalized right back up here. And the control in this bot side will all be in the favor of Ground Zero. Limus does still have to respect. He doesn't have the ultimate available for the time being. But it won't deter them from pushing this wave. Skimmy, this game, this whole series.
Yeah. So hard to call. So hard to call. As Antic won game 1 in 30. Ground Zero 1 in 25. We're at 33 minutes now. And to add extra spice into the mix, it's Schönfire stealing the Baron. Let's see this one in slow-mo.
Yeah, how does this happen here? It just has to be a miss-smite. Yeah, Swiper just simply smites about 200 HP too early. I don't know how no one's blocking the Talia Qs. I don't know how there's still a control ward allowed to be in that pit. But ultimately, all those areas will result in a massive flip here for Ground Zero, who now you can see TN unafraid, running of 4 members here. You're tanky, but you're not that tanky. Hooks on.
It certainly is. Draku jumps back in again, undeterred by the fact that they have that Baron buff. They've got 15% resistance extra. They feel strong as Benvi jumps in and is now, what a fantastic hook to deny. Lima's running away to safety there. But it doesn't matter if they have the Baron, Max. They've lost 2 in the same time. And this game, it's just going back and forth again.
They've lost 2, but importantly, none of the carries have actually fallen. The Baron buff's still available on these members here as a Weaver's Wall will come through. Won't actually block off any of the wave, but will certainly do a lot of damage. So it'll be 2 turrets falling in the mid lane in favor of Antic, but not much else. And really just a bit of over-eagerness there from the top and support of Ground Zero. Benvi thought he could make a hero play, but this Rakan is incredibly squishy. I mean, you can see just his items and he's level 12. Here we go again. So Tien initially just, I don't know what he's looking for here. Just a little bit of poke potentially. Takes a fair chunk as a trade. And then Benvi, as soon as this hook comes online, they want to try to trade back onto Draku, find some damage. But this steadfast presence is providing so much value, locking up Benvi, that by the time he's able to dash out, he actually just falls down. And Tien then completely isolated. A flash E from Swiper will secure the kill, but now 30 seconds. This is really what it all comes down to here. The soul on the line here for Antic. Tien, he'll TP in nice and early here, but do Antic just turn on him?
They cannot find it just yet. Draku tries to go in with that hook, but the Verdant Barrier blocks it. The cast coming on out. Let's try and zone them back for the meantime as well. Kissa, you can see with the Guardian Angel actually picked up, really making sure that he can stick around in these team fights, and Draku getting pushed back further and further, delaying that all-important recall. Ground Zero absolutely have to deny this Mountain Drake, because those resistances that Antic have acquired, it's just too much for them to force those classic front to backs. They will deny it. We're all tied up now at 3 apiece. And in 5 minutes, if it gets to 40, we will finally have a decider.
Yeah, what feels like an eternity this game has been going on for, just to come out with only 500 gold being the difference between these 2 teams there. Ground Zero finding a nice chunk onto Draku to start that fight. No Nautilus HP bar means your main source of engage is really restricted from entering the fight whatsoever. And you could see Kisse as well walked over to the mid lane whilst that play was happening to cut any potential push play off before it even started. So 1 minute 50 on the Baron. You can see items starting to come through. Really everyone is hitting that 4 item mark. LDR is online for Kisse in the mid lane as well as a GA. So even if he is caught out by an initial pick, will have that stasis and revive to be able to get back into the fight. But it becomes such a scary prospect looking at the items of Antic. Don't let that Baron still fool you. They are absolutely still in a point of power here. Varus almost completely full build. Same can be said about Ryoma, who's almost picking up his Void Staff. Either side, if they are allowed the tiniest amount of time to DPS. But speaking of Zoranus, he might be getting DPS right now.
Oh no, he's gone for the preemptive cast to try and knock them back once again. The pressure of Schönfire using that Weaver's Wall is baited out a key ultimate. But it is the ability to be so nimble as that Gragas, but a flash and a body slam, and get yourself out of harm's way, not to be picked apart for that all-important Baron fight in 60 seconds as you highlight. King, not too far away from what you'd imagine would be a Guardian Angel. Really, the most fed member in this game, you have to say. 11 kills to 3, nearly 40 minutes in. And really, this game could go any way still. You're just unsure with the Baron steals like that. Who can hold their nerves for that all-important fight coming up?
It really is all about this mechanical execution around this next Baron. This is really going to be what decides it. But you can see all the vision controls so far favoring the side of Ground Zero. They do have the entrances warded as well as some wards in the river to spot any potential Baron play. Schönfire constantly threatening a flank here. Won't land it onto King. But it is incredibly close, and now mid lane, the priority battles begin. You can see all 10 members in this game are around this mid lane. And with how quickly Baron goes down, you can't afford either side to be allowed to be alone with this Baron for even the slightest amount of time.
Inside track for Antic. Banshee's procced. There's Schönfire hunts them from a side. Actually, the Banshees is still up intact. That's worth noting, could be the all-important factor. Draku looks to try and turn around with that hook. They flip it around. The Keeper's Verdict goes out. Stretch line knocking him up. The Baron getting lower and lower down to 2000. It's not going to be stolen away this time. Benvi limping, surviving. Varus the focus, but flashing and ghosting, and King from the backline is unable to hit anybody. The Weaver's Wall splits the fight apart. Swiper's forced to go back to base with that Empower. Baron recall, but Tien fully charged up. He's just getting cutted out by this Varus. The team is standing strong and standing firm. Wherever this Varus goes, we will protect. And they say, you know what? We won't go back to base. We'll just run towards yours. Grand Zero are running from the left-hand side as they want to try and zone them back. It's going to be a 4v5 for Antic to try and fight themselves out of, as Ryoma has the moves. And they try to do a bit of an arch back into the mid lane here. They're really trying to fight them away out of a die situation. As Swiper does get knocked on down. Swiper is going to fall on down as Tien picks it up, but not to be outdone there by the Varus, who gets a kill in retaliation. Godlike now is King, and he wants to be just that, the King of this Rift.
Well, that has to be one of the weirdest sequences I think I've ever seen following a Baron. You could see that Ground Zero, with the numbers advantage, felt like they should have been able to press up. But ultimately, the DPS coming out from King and Ryoma was simply too much. Even for Tien, he wasn't able to run up and actually start that play off. So this time, Swiper will secure the smite, secure the Baron. As let's take a look once again here. It's a really nice keeper's verdict once again from Swiper to send Tien out of the pit, get rid of that front line. Meanwhile, Kisei on the back line, able to do a nice amount of damage here, whilst also shoving King into the rest of his team. But there's no follow-up here. And look at this Swiper W here. Actually stops Schönfire from being able to continue to take this Weaver's Wall and really divides this fight. And Tien, I mean, yes, you're a tanky Udyr, but just look at the amount of damage that is coming out from that Varus. And now 19 seconds on the Dragon. Back to what we have been seeing so much this game. The ARAM Tien, TP available. You have to imagine he wants to use this really soon to be able to group up with his team, cutting the top wave first to make sure there's no potential TP backdoor play. And here we go. Here is the TP coming out. Both sides using those. Can they just burst it down here, Ground Zero? It's what they're looking for. Can Antic make it in time?
They're rushing it down, and they're going to be successful in doing just that. Oh, the piercing arrow. I wondered for a second, had that been enough? Zominus blindly chucking out the ultimate, getting the focus, Draku flashing, and just knocking up whoever he can find. Benvi charming them to his command, and then Kisei blows into life and knocks two back. They're unable to find that initial kill just yet, but Draku with the last stretch of HP goes in and says, I'll get that kill, and I'll die in the process. 2-for-1 trade so far. They are trading up, and it is Antic successfully winning. The Mountain Soul in favor of Ground Zero. The piercing arrow from afar, not enough to take down that tanky Schönfire. But really, Ryoma got to stand and deliver and do so much damage. And still, with the Baron, only 5 seconds remaining, they'll get to escort in yet another wave in mid and maybe look to pressure top.
Yeah, they've still got the numbers advantage here, and with Ground Zero having to reset, you do have to imagine that this mid inhibitor will just be falling down for the side of Antic. Now, the question is, do you continue with the push? There's no Kisei, no Benvi for 10 seconds. But without the Baron, it's so hard to actually get a wave into those tier 3 turrets as Lemus. Change of options do here, but they're instantly cleansed.
Instantly cleansed, not taking any chances in this occasion. We're entering now into the longest game seen this split. That before was 39 minutes. We're now at 41.5. It's all in for that late game fiesta. Back and forth we go for multiple times throughout this series. Stomps one end, stomp the other. But game 3 has really been as close as it comes, and taking no chances to try and end it right there and then. Ground Zero will respawn, they'll redeploy, and Kisei's back with a TP to mid.
He TP's in, but not really going to be able to find too much value. You can see that when Antic are all grouped up, it's an incredibly scary prospect to actually be able to start a fight. We take a look once again. So Ground Zero, they make the correct call. They burst down the Dragon and secure themselves the soul, but it's really on this retreat where they get a little bit confused as to what they want to do here. Lemus, you can see, is forced out of the fight very early, and Kisei jumps in, but plain and simple, just doesn't have the DPS to actually be able to take down King. Draco with the nice hook. Yes, he trades his life, but you're absolutely happy making that trade at this point in the game. And it will be just the 2 kills there for Antic. The inhibitor, of course, picked up on the back end of that. But now, full build for both AD carries. You can see the Maw of Malmorty is going to be the last pickup for Lemus as King completes his Bloodthirster. And if he wasn't a DPS problem before, I don't know what he is now.
Yeah, he's an absolute weapon, ready to be unleashed on the map here in favor of Antic. Their secret secret trump card, the one that they hope can certainly give them all the answers to get themselves out of this dire situation of just make this game end. Double Zonia's picked up now by the likes of Ryoma and Zoranus. Everybody just trying to find any kind of inch that will give them the ability to win out that next team fight. That certainly seems what we're building our way towards, right? That one final fight. Respawn time is, at this point, will be 60 seconds and beyond. And there is no chance to defend that base. One final Baron dance. We've had a steal. We've had a big base fight for it. 30 seconds and it's up for grabs again.
Yeah, Tien here will be acting to cut the mid wave to try to deny that from going in the favor of Antic, but some minions do escape here. He's not able to actually get the full thing, which means at ground zero, they are going to have to be forced towards this mid lane if they want to stop a push from coming through. But they look like they just want to fight in the mid lane. Schönfire's been caught.
Chain of Corruption's onto Schönfire, but the knockback from the Gragas is not enough to try and expose him as much as they would have hoped for, so Schönfire stays alive for the meantime. Sunder's summoned in the mid lane as 3 members of Ground Zero take a bit of damage, and Antic get to escort their supers right down mid lane. They feel like they've done enough now. Will they back away? Will they concede all this space they've afforded themselves and go straight towards the Baron? It's now spawned, it's ready to take. And like Ground Zero stole away the Dragon, would Antic dare steal away the Baron?
Yeah, Tien's going to be the one to face check here. As another fight is on the cards. Keep in mind what was used in that previous fight. The Chains of Corruption and the Depth Charge from the side of Antic. Whereas the quickness and the Tristana ultimate being used from Ground Zero, as it's now the red team who does have the inside track here. Tien just looking to be a bit of a nuisance here. Shove them off. And now Ground Zero, they're the ones who have alone time with this Baron, and look at how quickly they're able to do it with these members hitting. Xayah and Talia doing it for the time being, Skimmy. I think they can just rip through this.
I think they can. Somebody has to make that face check move right now because the Baron is just gone. It is just simply gone. The bluff. They've taken it. And Ground Zero just walk in and successfully steal away. It's just too late for Antic. Bullied out. Baited by the ghost of that Udyr. And they have to concede once more. And you're hoping this time, Max, that the side of Ground Zero with the Baron buff successfully win a fight after.
It's a massive heist from Ground Zero. Not only do they actually get the Baron, but they also get that mid lane tier 3 turret thanks to Kisei pushing in the mid lane. And like you mentioned, I think that kind of chaotic situation was just a little bit too much for Antic. They weren't able to make the correct call, and now that Baron in hand, all the CS numbers well over 300, 400 for all of these carries here. We are truly into the late game here now. 44 seconds on this Elder Dragon. You have to imagine, if there's any fight that's going to end this game, it's going to be around that.
It certainly will be. Honestly, at this point, Max, give me a best of 5 of this. Give me all of this action right now because these teams are playing as if this is a grand final. They're all in for the play. NTN jumps in. He's very squishy, especially when King gets uptime and just evaporates him. Once again, Ground Zero with the Baron lose a fight. I just do not believe it.
Yeah, it's Tien there getting a little bit too confident with his positioning. Uses the Awakened E to dodge the initial CC from Dragku, but that buys time for Zoranus to throw that cascade. It is a really nice Gragas ultimate, separating the Udyr from his entire team and throwing him into the middle of 5 Antic players now. How did Ground Zero respond here? You can see Kisei is actually pushing the mid lane. This Tristana kills turrets incredibly quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if they just want to cancel bases here.
Taking a gamble right now. The Baron has been engaged, rather the Elder has been engaged, I should say, but Bendy gets taken on down. Very quickly does Lemus as well, but as you said, Kisei's trying to end this game right now. He's got the Void Bites, he's got the pressure, the TP comes in, they're there to back it up. The Elder's been picked up, and Schönfire's got nowhere to run or hide. Baron up against Elder, and it seems like Elder is just too strong.
Yeah, it'll seem that way for the time being here as well. There are very long death timers on the bot lane of Ground Zero. I wouldn't be surprised if Antic are wanting to leverage this push on the bot side to make it something a little bit more serious. You can see TP will come through here from Zoranus right now. Ground Zero, how do you hold on? There's 30 seconds left on Lemus. Can you survive? So
hard to separate these two teams tonight. Both series really becoming a staple of what makes them so great, but Game 3 really has answered. And has really showcased that it's a messy game, but it's a very entertaining one at just that. Getting close to 50 minutes, which I'd have to imagine would almost be an LCO record at this point. It feels like such an age to have a game go this late. But inside the base they go again. The Chain of Corruption found the flick onto King. They found the Varus. This is the moment they've been hunting for all game long. If King's dead, there's a chance. That's his first death at only 47 minutes. But they still have Elder, Max. They still have the Elder, and they need Ryoma to do that damage. It's exactly what he does as he gets a double The Sun Disc is popped. The supers are crashing. They'll wait for that next wave to come in, and surely they'll try to end.
They might try it, Skimmy here, but once again, Schönfire, Kisei, and Limus all alive. Hook lands, but Draku goes down.
I do not believe it. There's just so many more tails in this game. Swiper, you madman. Swiper's dead. Raimer's gone golden underneath the tower. The explosive shot still fully ramped up. And he jumps in to get baited by Schönfire with a stopwatch of his own. At this point, it's who's better at utilizing their immunities. And the tank Gragas
Bonus?
still with the Baron, or rather the Elder, I should say, gets a double. Oh my god. I don't know what's going on
he's
anymore.
Get another one.
I don't know what's going on anymore. Don't tell me Dominus is the absolute hero. He gets denied. And it's a sloppy fight. But in the end, it's an ace.
Somehow Ground Zero hold on. It's a miracle that they're able to live for this long into the game. But crucially, look at Schönfire throughout this fight. Amidst all this chaos, he's able to find the seismic shove onto King. It's followed up really nicely by Benvi. And ultimately, that Barris going down is the signal that the fight can continue. Yes, there is that Elder, and yes, Ryoma finds 2 kills off the back of this nice play here, but it is not enough. There's still so much damage, so much wave clear left alive for Ground Zero, and Skimmy, it feels like no matter what either of these teams do, no matter how hard they win a fight, the game simply will not end.
It refuses to end. You're absolutely right there. This has been a game for the ages, one certainly to write down in the history books of Oceanic League of Legends, as these two teams fighting for that all-important upper bracket best of 5 to have a chance at qualifying through to the PCS playoffs. They're playing as if this is a live finals with everybody watching. They're giving every little bit of entertainment you could imagine, as we will in fact hit that 50-minute mark. Baron's not enough to end. Backdoors being denied there by Kisei. And then the Elder with the white finally taking down this incredibly fed Varus. You just don't know what to say anymore.
You really don't at this stage. It's so hard to call. Really is just going to come down to the execution around these next objectives, which are spawning in 45 seconds here, is this Baron. Now, taking stock of Summoners, King does still have both of his available. Limus and Kisei are down their flash. But Limus will be getting that Summoner spell back pretty soon, as once again, this mid lane tango resumes here. This time it's Antic, who have a bit of the inside track here on this mid lane. We'll be able to set up first, but you can see Kisei actually potentially looking for something down towards this bot lane here. Instead opts to group with his team. A single second away, a single miss position can be so deadly at this point in the game. But with 10 seconds on the Baron, Antic feeling pretty good about their position right now.
Certainly do, and for good reason as well. They know that it's very hard for Ground Zero to try and go for that phase check, very hard for them to try and assert themselves, any kind of control of the Sun Disc, and the 3 members staunching them out, saying, how about you have a taste of your own medicine, feigning potential fights and engages time and time again. It's our time now to try and strike back and hit you with that 2-man Baron attempt. They turn their attention onto Zonis. That's not the target you want! And the Baron heist, it's happened so many times in so many different flavors, but this time, it's Antic.
Yeah, this time they'll just pick it up there. They use Ryoma and all the DPS that he provides on this Azir to just sneak that one away with Swiper tanking. And at this stage in the game, the extra utility, the extra stats you're getting from that can be so consequential. But Draco could be picked off here. There's not much damage though.
Yeah, it's not much damage. Support and jungle are going to try and take it on down, but he is going to fall victim to a very late flash away to safety. It's not enough to survive, unfortunately. Dominus threatening from the right-hand side as Ryoma and Swiper are looking to try and say, well, we need to deal with mid lane. We have an inhibitor, but we do not want to sacrifice us in the process. And back and forth we go again. Yet another cycle of the Earth's orbit.
It's a really big pick though onto Draku. You can see Elder Dragon spawns in 40 seconds and Draku is about 2 or 3 seconds behind that. So will certainly be desynced from the rest of his team in terms of getting towards that objective. And with how important he is to securing your engages, Ground Zero could potentially look to get the proper position and put themselves in good stead for that objective. Keep in mind though, that because of this Baron, the backdoor threat from someone like an Azir is incredibly potent. They've got to constantly keep this top wave pushed out for fear of that teleport being used. But as for right now, nothing else matters besides this mid wave, besides this Elder Dragon. As on the mid lane, Swiper getting a bit of damage back. He will be rooted.
Enough to force out the flash, the Bomber knocking them back. Limus holding his own, burning the cleanse, but not burning the ultimate, down to 50%. Same could be said there for Tien, as the Elder was looked at They're definitely not started on up. With both inhibitors up and available, they can all in on this play around this next dragon. Dominus getting shoved away. Not going to be due to turds. Tien back to base, he went, but a TP coming on out to try and be that clutch factor. There's some of the Weavers would want to try and make sure they can split this fight apart. The Keeper's verdict to knock back one. The Elder down to 4k. Who can land this smite better? It's being picked up by Shern. They zap down Swiper for 80 seconds. They'll find a second. Ryoma answers back. Zodas goes gold and the shutdown fantasy zaps to life. And I tell you what, I feel like Ground Zero have finally done it. They finally ended the game that refused to end.
This time, Skimmy, the fight goes in the favor of Ground Zero. 53 minutes in, it only took a soul, it only took 2 Elders, and I don't even remember how many Barons, but finally they will find the fight. The smite goes in favor of Schönfire, and after what has been the longest effort of this entire split, Ground Zero will emerge victorious.
Bloody hell, what a game. The longest game I even remember in Oceanic history from my time casting. It's given us absolutely everything. And the mental fatigue these players must be under right now. You can see head in their hands, chuck off the headset, break the webcam. Who cares, mate? You've earned it. That was a game that you don't want to repeat anytime soon. But Ground Zero have brought it back in a reverse sweep fashion. A 2-1 as they rebook a meeting with Bliss in that upper bracket for a best of 5 showdown.